Cyber Threat Brief for May 30th, 2026. Palo Alto Global Protect bypass is now actively exploited with CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, adding CVE 2026-0257 to KEV, Known Exploited Vulnerabilities Catalog. Patch by June 1. Critical zero-day in GOG's Git service has a Metasploit module, but no patch after 2 months. Supply chain attacks hit NPM and NuGet with credential stealing packages targeting AWS, Vault, and Brazilian banking credentials. Here's the full breakdown of today's top security stories. Daily Cybersecurity Brief, May 30, 2026. Next section, Critical Alerts. GOG Zero-Day exposes servers to remote code execution. CVE 2025-8110 GOGs, the open-source Git service, has a critical CVSS, the Common Vulnerability Scoring System. 9.4. Zero-Day enabling remote code execution through pull requests with malicious branch names. The vulnerability affects Windows, Linux, and Mac OS servers running default configurations. During rebase before merging operations, the merge function passes the pull request's base branch name to git rebase without preventing argument injection, allowing attackers to inject the exec flag to execute shell commands. Since GOG ships with open registration enabled by default, unauthenticated attackers can create accounts and exploit the flaw without interaction from other users. Rapid7 reports the vulnerability has CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, KEV, Known Exploited Vulnerabilities Catalog, Status, due February 2, and EPSS, the Exploit Prediction Scoring System, score of 0. 223, 96th percentile. GOG's maintainers received the vulnerability report in mid-March, but have not released a patch as of this writing. Action: disable rebase before merging in all repositories. Monitor for EOCS released by Rapid7. Audit repository logs for suspicious pull requests or branch names. Metasploit module is publicly available. Sources: Security Week, the Register. YANOS Global Protect authentication bypass under active exploitation. CVE 2026-0257. Palo Alto Networks, PANOS, and Prisma Access Global Protect portal and gateway have come under active exploitation for CVE 2026-0257, CVSS 7.8, an authentication bypass allowing attackers to establish unauthorized VPN connections. The vulnerability affects firewalls with Global Protect portal or gateway, configured when authentication override cookies are enabled and a specific certificate configuration exists. Rapid7 identified successful exploitation across numerous customers, with the earliest attempts dating back to May 17, followed by a second wave on May 21. In 2 cases, attackers obtained VPN IP assignments after cookie authentication, granting access to the internal network. CISA added CVE 2026-0257 to KEV with a June 1, 2026 remediation deadline. EPSS score is currently 0. 1, 20th percentile. Action: patch to vendor-supplied version immediately. Temporary mitigations: disable authentication override feature or generate a new certificate exclusively for the authentication override feature. Check firewall logs for unauthorized VPN sessions from May 17 onward. Sources: The Hacker News, CIS, a KEV. Marimo post-exploitation via LLM agent, CVE 2026-39987. Attackers exploited CVE 2026-39987, a critical pre-auth remote code execution in Marimo, all versions prior to 0.23.0, to compromise an internet-reachable Marimo notebook and conduct post-exploitation using an LLM agent. Sysdig observed the attack on May 10, 2026. The attacker extracted cloud credentials from the compromised host, replayed them through a fanned-out egress pool to retrieve an SSH private key from AWS Secrets Manager, and used the key to drive 8 parallel SSH sessions against a downstream SSH Bastion server. The attacker exfiltrated the schema and full contents of an internal PostgreSQL database in under 2 minutes. Sysdig identified 4 indicators of LLM-driven activity, including improvised database dumps, Chinese language planning comments leaking in the command stream, machine-readable command formats with delimiters and bounded output, and value handoffs extracted from prior tool output. CVE 2026-39987 has CISA KEV status, due May 7, and EPSS score of 0. 822, 99th percentile. Action: upgrade Marimo to version 0.23.0 or later. Hunt for unauthorized AWS Secrets Manager API calls. Audit SSH Bastion logs for short-lived parallel sessions. Review database access logs for rapid exfiltration patterns. Source: The Hacker News. Next section, ransomware and extortion. Silent Ransom Group escalates to physical intrusions. FBI issued a flash report warning that Silent Ransom Group, SRG, aka Unc 3753, Luna Moth, Chatty Spider, is executing social engineering operations against U.S. legal and financial institutions with in-person data theft. The attack chain begins with attackers posing as internal IT support personnel via type-squatted help desk domains, using phishing emails or phone calls to urge employees to contact them. Attackers attempt to establish remote desktop sessions to exfiltrate data, but when remote access fails, SRG sends an operative directly to the victim's physical location. Unidentified individuals attempt to gain building access to manually insert USB flash drives or external hard drives into targeted computers. After obtaining information, the gang sends ransom demands threatening to publish stolen data on leak sites, while simultaneously harassing employees and external clients by phone to force financial negotiations. SRG split from the Conti syndicate in early 2022 and has historically relied on targeted callback phishing. Action: train staff to verify digital help desk requests through out-of-band channels. Implement visitor verification protocols requiring IT manager approval. Report suspicious phone calls or physical intrusion attempts to local FBI field office. Source: Sentinel-1. Russia-linked GreyVibe targets Ukraine with AI-powered campaigns with secure attributed ongoing attacks against Ukraine and Ukraine-related entities since August 2025 to GreyVibe, a Russian-speaking threat actor operating in the Russian time zone. The group leverages spear phishing emails, fake CAPTCHA pages, and fraudulent Ukrainian adult club websites to deliver malware. Attack chains include Phantom Mail, JavaScript-based loaders delivering Phantom Relay PowerShell RAT, Phantom Click, ClickFix-style fake CAPTCHA pages on Zoom and Lopez domains, Princess Club, fake adult sites delivering False Spy on Android and Phantom Relay V1 or Legion Relay on Windows, Drone Link, fake charitable foundations supporting armed forces of Ukraine, and Nebo, false spy sample mimicking Russian language login screen. Victimology spans military, government, civilian, and business-related organizations. Evidence indicates GreyVibe relies on generative AI, ideogram AI, OpenAI ChatGPT, Google Gemini, to assist with image generation, malware development, obfuscation, loader scripts, backend infrastructure, and post-compromise commands. Secure assesses the group as low to moderately sophisticated, suffering from OPSEC blunders while employing AI-assisted tooling. Action: block domains mimicking Ukrainian charitable foundations and adult club sites in DNS filters. Hunt for Phantom Relay and Legion Relay PowerShell artifacts. Monitor for WebRTC-based live call features on lure sites. Source: The Hacker News. The COM Criminal Collective funds violence via cybercrime. Flashpoint analysis of the COM confirms the disturbing cybercriminal group, comprising Shiny Hunters, Lapsus Dollar, and Scattered Spider, uses its hacker wing to support child pornography generation, trafficking, murder, and other violent crimes. The COM operates in three subsets: EarlCom, physical attacks like muggings and arson; ExtortionCom, grooming and sextorting children into creating pornography or acting violently; and HackerCom, breaching corporations, SIM swaps, DDoS, ransomware. The overlap between subsets is significant. The COM targets cloud and SaaS platforms, Okta, Salesforce, Microsoft 365, and skews young, recruiting from gaming communities and social media. Unit 221B, CEO Allison Nixon, notes that any given hacker in the COM has a much higher than average probability of possessing or forcing the creation of CSAM, and sextorters have a much higher than average probability of engaging in fraud for income. Action: review cloud and SaaS authentication logs for unusual access patterns. Implement phishing-resistant MFA, multi-factor authentication, for all privileged accounts. Report suspected COM activity to FBI and local law enforcement. Source: Dark Reading. Next section, business and infrastructure threats. Malicious NPM packages, abuse dependency confusion to profile environments. Microsoft Threat Intelligence uncovered 33 malicious NPM packages registered under organizational scopes mirroring real internal corporate namespaces, employing dependency confusion to deploy an obfuscated reconnaissance payload. On May 28-29, 2026, threat actors operating under three maintainer aliases, Mr. Forend 3R50N, CRWB, TN1, published packages impersonating internal corporate packages across 9 organizational scopes, at Cloud Platform SingleSpa, at WBTrack, at Dare Science, at CRWB, at Payments Widget, at Travel Auto Tests, at TN1, at Capybar, Chat, at Esburecomcore. Packages set homepage, repository, bugs, and author fields to fabricated but realistic-looking internal infrastructure URLs, GitHub Enterprise, Jira, documentation portals. Once installed, packages download and execute an obfuscated reconnaissance payload from an attacker-controlled command and control server. The payload runs silently during npm install in reconnaissance-only mode, collecting system information, hostnames, environment variables, and developer context. Architecture includes a recon-only flag that can be toggled server-side for full exploitation in follow-on attacks. npm team took down repos and users after Microsoft's investigation. Action: audit package lock. JSON for scoped packages matching internal namespace patterns. Review npm install logs for unexpected post-install hooks. Configure package managers to reject external packages under organizational scopes. Scan environment variables for credential exposure. Sources: Microsoft security blog The Register. Malicious Sikub NuGet package steals Brazilian banking credentials. Socket discovered a malicious NuGet package masquerading as a C-hash SDK for Sikub, one of Brazil's largest cooperative financial systems, to siphon client ID and PFX certificates. Versions 2.0.0 through 2.0.4 of Sikub SDK contain functionality to exfiltrate PFX certificates used to authenticate businesses with the Sikub banking network for automating banking operations, instant payments, dynamic PIX QR codes. When a developer instantiates Sikub client with a client ID, PFX file path, and PFX password, the package reads the PFX file, base64 encodes its contents, and sends the client ID, PFX password, and encoded PFX data to a hard-coded Sentry endpoint. The package also captures raw Bolito API responses via a separate Sentry path, exposing transaction details, payment status, amounts, due dates, identifiers, and payer/payee data. The package was surfaced by Google Search AI mode as a legitimate C-hash library. The linked GitHub repository is clean, but the malicious data stealing functionality is introduced only in the package uploaded to NuGet. NuGet blocked the package after responsible disclosure. The profile Sikub has listed 11 other NuGet packages with collectively 6,000 downloads. Action: remove Sikub SDK immediately. Treat PFX material as compromised. Replace exposed PFX certificates, rotate PFX passwords, change or disable affected client ID. Audit Sikub authentication and API logs for unusual activity. Investigate the 11 other packages published by Sikub profile. Source: The Hacker News. 14 malicious NPM packages target AWS and CI/CD secrets. Microsoft Defender Security Research Team discovered 14 malicious NPM packages type-squatting OpenSearch, Elasticsearch, DevOps, and environment configuration libraries to harvest AWS credentials, HashiCorp Vault tokens, NPM tokens, and CI/CD pipeline secrets. Packages were published by a single threat actor named VPMDHaj, a 39,155,771 at gmail.com on May 28, 2026. The packages launch a purpose-built credential harvester through a pre-install hook. All packages have been removed from NPM. Action: audit NPM install logs for the 14 packages listed: OpenSearch setup, OpenSearch config utility, Elastic OpenSearch helper, envconfig manager, search cluster setup, etc. Rotate AWS credentials, Vault tokens, and NPM tokens exposed to CI/CD environments. Review CloudTrail logs for unauthorized API calls. Source: The Hacker News. Trapdoor supply chain campaign hits 176 NPM packages. Security researchers uncovered Trapdoor, a coordinated software supply chain campaign distributing credential-stealing malware across NPM, PyPI, and crates. EO. Starting on May 2, the campaign targeted multiple ecosystems simultaneously. Action: monitor package registries for suspicious publications. Audit installed packages for unexpected pre-install or post-install hooks. Review credential stores for exposure. Source: Sentinel-1. ChatGPT share. Links abused for malware distribution. Threat actors abuse ChatGPT's content sharing feature to display fake open outage pages that direct users to download malware disguised as the ChatGPT desktop application. LLM share campaign, discovered by Push Security, uses Google Ads to direct users searching for ChatGPT to a malicious shared ChatGPT page hosted on Chat.com. Users see a rendered outage notice claiming the web version is unavailable and should download the desktop application instead. The fake outage notice is rendered through ChatGPT itself via a custom HTML page published through a shared Chat.com/s/link. Clicking the download button brings visitors to OpenU.app, which impersonates OpenAI's desktop application download portal. The site uses cloaking to display content only to targeted victims. Both Mac OS and Windows downloads install malware. Push Security also observed attacks abusing Claude artifacts to host click-fix-style lures. Action: block OpenU.app domain. Monitor for Google Ads redirecting to checked.com/s/share links. Educate users that ChatGPT desktop applications should only be downloaded from OpenAI.com. Scan endpoints for recent downloads from unverified sources. Source: bleeping computer. Shadow AI. 2,000-plus vibe-coded apps exposed corporate data red access, identified more than 380,000 publicly accessible web assets across leading vibe coding platforms, with roughly 5,000 looking corporate. More than 2,000 held sensitive corporate, operational, or personal data sitting on the open web, deployed without basic access controls, often granting admin access by default to anyone who reached the URL. The shadow builders report documented exposures across 6 continents and every industry. Vibe coding platforms allow anyone to build a working application by describing what they want, compressing months of engineering work into hours. A marketing manager builds a campaign tracker and connects it to the BI tool. An operations manager builds a vendor intake form and connects it to the ticketing system. Applications get connected to sanctioned production systems, CRM, ERP, ticketing tools, BI platforms, and published to the open internet with whatever access controls the builder configured, often none. Traditional security stacks miss this category. EDR sees the browser process, not the build inside it. DLP watches enumerated channels and can't see vibe-coded applications connecting programmatically to BI tools via API, moving data cloud to cloud. CASP was built for SaaS vendors, not custom-built applications. Action: inventory employee use of vibe coding platforms, Retool, Bubble, Glide, etc. Audit publicly accessible URLs for corporate data exposure. Implement approval workflows for publishing applications. Configure DLP to monitor cloud-to-cloud data transfers. Source: The Hacker News. Zapier nearly compromised via multi-step exploit chain. Token security researchers discovered they could compromise low-code automation service Zapier by exploiting the platform's sandboxed environment. Using code blocks, Code by Zapier, researchers queried the sandbox OS and discovered it was running on AWS Lambda with an overly permissive role incorrectly named Allow Nothing role. The researchers created a Python script to extract secrets from memory. AWS Lambda does not proactively delete tokens until the container is recycled. Discovered they could list and request 1,111 files from Zapier's private repository, and found one file that exposed an NPM token for publishing that could be used for every package. Developer comment in the code read. Note: this isn't a security thing, since we pass a allow nothing role, just avoids responding to dozens of annoying false positive security reports. Token security researchers could have pushed malicious code to Zapier's repositories and to any users authenticated to the system. The finding highlights the complexity of cloud integrations and the risks of overpermissioned roles, secrets discovery, and non-human identities. Action: audit sandbox environments for overpermissioned roles. Proactively delete credentials from memory after use. Review code comments for security-relevant decisions. Implement least privilege for non-human identities. Source: dark reading. Next section, general security news. Dutch authorities disrupt 17 million device botnet. Dutch authorities took offline a massive botnet of 17 million devices and seized more than 200 servers at a local provider that supported the operation. The police collaborated with the National Cybersecurity Center, NCSC, on the investigation. The seized servers controlled computers, tablets, and smartphones to carry out cyberattacks. Local media reported the botnet was linked to ASOX, which advertises itself as a universal proxy service, with 7 million IP addresses, 150 locations, and 100,000 clients. The platform offers corporate, residential, and mobile proxies for monthly subscriptions between $5 and $15. NCSC action indicates that the owners of the devices were not knowing participants in supporting cybercrime operations. Action: ensure default credentials on networking devices have been changed to unique and strong values. Apply latest firmware updates. Disable remote administration panels when not needed. Source: bleeping computer. Stark Industries hosting network dismantled Dutch financial crime investigators. FIAD arrested 2 individuals and seized 800 servers across multiple data centers that actively enabled Russian-based cyberattacks, disinformation operations, and widespread interference campaigns. Web hosting firm Stark Industries was founded just before the 2022 invasion of Ukraine and had deep ties to Russian and Belarusian entities, all sanctioned by the EU. After being sanctioned in May of last year, Stark Industries shifted operations to a front company named Work Titans B.V., which provided hosting services under a new brand, the Hosting This entity allegedly supported the pro-Russian hacktivist syndicate no-name 05716 in executing DDoS attacks and indirectly supplied economic resources to restricted organizations. Source: Sentinel-1. Google Chrome rolls out device-bound session credentials. Google says the Chrome device-bound session credentials, DBSC, security feature is now generally available and rolling out to all users to prevent account takeovers. DBSC cryptographically binds session cookies to a specific device, preventing hackers from using stolen cookies to bypass multi-factor authentication and hijack accounts. DBSC works by cryptographically linking user sessions to hardware security chips, TPM on Windows, Secure Enclave on Mac OS. Unique public/private keys used to encrypt and decrypt sensitive data are generated by the security chip and cannot be stolen. The feature is enabled by default for all Google Workspace customers upon rollout, and administrators cannot disable it. In the past, threat actors abused the undocumented Google OAuth multi-login API endpoint to generate new authentication cookies after stolen ones expired. Llama and Radamanthys information-stealing malware claimed they could restore expired Google authentication cookies. Action confirmed DBSC rollout to Google Workspace. Educate users that session cookies are now hardware-bound. Monitor for malware attempting to abuse multi-login endpoint. Source: Bleeping Computer. California AG sues 23andMe over 2023 breach. California Attorney General Rob Bonta filed a lawsuit against 23andMe, now Chrome Holding Co., over the company's failure to protect sensitive customer genetic and personal information. Improper security led to a high-profile data breach in 2023 that exposed the sensitive information of nearly 7 million customers, including 855,541 Californians. The incident exposed genetic data, health predisposition information, ancestry and ethnicity information, biological relatives, and DNA matches. AG Bonta claims 23andMe failed to implement reasonable safeguards against credential stuffing attacks, missed multiple opportunities to detect the intrusion, and failed to catch the coding error in DNA relatives that led to the widespread breach. The complaint also notes misleading public statements 23andMe made before and after the incident. The AG seeks an injunction to prevent further violations and statutory penalties of $1,000 $7,500 per violation. Source: Bleeping Computer. DDoS as a service market evolves from scripts to polished products. Flare researchers compared DDoS-related underground activity from the first 5 months of 2023 and the first 5 months of 2026, finding that what once appeared more frequently as scripts, tutorials, leaked tools, and scattered forum posts is now more often presented as a repeatable product that is easier to buy and operate. Recent underground activity describes attack panels, API access, monthly plans, reseller options, customer support, botnet-backed capacity, game server methods, and Cloudflare bypass claims. Cloudflare reported blocking a 7.3 Tbps attack in 2025 and mitigated a 31.4 Tbps attack in Q4 2025. Microsoft said Azure mitigated a 15.72 Tbps attack in October 2025, attributing the activity to the Asaru botnet. Source: Bleeping Computer. Next section: Patch Priority. Palo Alto PANOS Global Protect, CVE 2026-0257, Authentication Bypass, CIS AKEV due June 1, GOGS Git Service, CVE 2025-8110, Critical RCE 0 day, no patch available, Metasploit module released, RIMO, CVE 2026-39987, upgrade to version 0.23.0 or later, CIS AKEV due May 7, Chrome 148. Patches 151 vulnerabilities including 22 critical severity flaws, CVE 2026-9872, and 4 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. VM backup and replication, 2 high-severity vulnerabilities leading to privilege escalation and arbitrary file writes. Next section, Vulnerability Disclosures. Chrome 148 patches, 151 vulnerabilities. Google released Chrome 148 update, resolving 151 vulnerabilities, including 22 critical severity flaws. The most severe are CVE 2026-9872, out of bounds write in GPU, and use after free in network, each earning reporting researchers a $43,000 reward. 3 other critical defects are use after free in Dawn, out of bounds read in WebGL, and use after free in WebGL. Most critical severity vulnerabilities are use after free bugs that could allow attackers to achieve remote code execution and escape Chrome's sandbox to potentially compromise the entire system. Google paid over $130,000 in bug bounty rewards for 10 security flaws reported by external researchers. Starting in late March, the number of vulnerabilities resolved with each update has increased significantly, with over 350 issues addressed in Chrome 148 alone. The surge in vulnerability discoveries is likely driven by AI use, which determined Google to lower Chrome bug bounties last month, and 4 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: update to Chrome 148.0.7778.216/217, Windows. 148.0.7778.215/216, Mac OS, or 148.0.7778.215, Linux. Source: Security Week. VS Code Remote SSH Extension Vulnerability, a remote code execution vulnerability in the Visual Studio Code Remote SSH extension, could allow attackers to pivot to remote systems. The issue exists because, upon initiating a remote SSH connection, the extension writes a bootstrap shell script to the temp directory. An attacker with access to the system can modify the script before it is transmitted and executed on the remote server to deploy a reverse shell. Action: update Visual Studio Code and the Remote SSH extension to the latest version. Monitor temp directory for unauthorized modifications during SSH connections. Source: Security Week. VM Notepad++. Roundcube patches VM resolved 2 high-severity vulnerabilities in its backup and replication product, warning they could lead to privilege escalation and arbitrary file writes. Notepad++ patched 3 security issues, including 2 leading to arbitrary code execution. The latest Roundcube security updates fix 8 flaws, including unauthenticated SQL injection and arbitrary file delete bugs. Action: update VM backup and replication, Notepad++ and Roundcube to the latest versions. Source: Security Week. CIS expands KEV catalog with supply chain attack. CVS. The U.S. Cybersecurity Agency, CIS, expanded its KEV catalog with 3 vulnerabilities describing recent software supply chain attacks: Daemon Tools Lite, TanStack, and NX Console, which led to the 3,800 internal GitHub repositories hack. CIS also issued an alert on the Megalodon and NX Console attacks, urging organizations to hunt for and remediate potential compromises. NPM invalidated granular access tokens in response to these attacks. Action: review KEV catalog for new supply chain attack CVEs. Hunt for compromise indicators from Megalodon and NX Console attacks. Rotate NPM granular access tokens. Source: Security Week. ChatGPT vulnerability in ChatGPT web summaries. Permiso security disclosed ChatGPT. A vulnerability in OpenAI ChatGPT, leveraging the AI assistant's implicit trust in markdown links and images to trigger prompt injections and open the door to phishing attacks. The chat.com response renderer trusts markdown links and markdown image URLs that originated from a third-party page the assistant has just summarized, auto-fetching those images and surfacing those links as live, clickable elements inside the trusted assistant UI. In a hypothetical attack scenario, a bad actor can append a small payload to any web page that the victim later prompts ChatGPT to summarize, causing it to leak their IP, user agent, and referrer details when attacker-hosted images embedded in the page are automatically fetched. It can result in malicious markdown links being rendered as live, clickable elements inside the assistant's response, serve fake system-style security alerts, and serve a QR code from an attacker's S3 bucket to trick the victim into scanning it via their mobile device, bypassing desktop URL filters and enterprise security controls. Action: educate users about the risk of summarizing untrusted web pages with ChatGPT. Monitor for suspicious QR code scans and phishing links originating from ChatGPT summaries. Implement network-level filtering for known attacker S3 buckets. Source: The Hacker News. SimJack and Trustfall, AI coding agent attacks. Adversa AI documented 2 attack techniques targeting AI coding agents and agentic coding CLIs. SimJack, a single attack pattern that lets a malicious repository achieve remote code execution through AI coding assistance by tricking the agent into a benign-looking file copy that secretly overwrites its own config. And the next restart runs attacker code with full user privileges. And Trustfall, a one-click remote code execution attack via a malicious repository that can ship a configuration that auto-approves and spawns an MCP server without a user's explicit approval or requiring a tool call from the agent. Action: audit AI coding agent configurations for unauthorized MCP servers. Review file copy operations for symlink manipulation. Disable auto-approval for MCP server spawning. Source: The Hacker News. CIF switch. Linux local root vulnerability, a non-universal Linux local root vulnerability dubbed CIF switch, was disclosed. The vulnerability is an architectural failing that goes back to the early days of *Nix and other OSes, caused by resource issues. Due to various issues in the base OS, extra security was needed, and the choice was to add extra security as a layer over the base OS rather than completely rework the base OS design. The problem is that adding the extra security layer would create legacy code issues unless the layer could be bypassed by legacy code. The result is that the extra security layer suffered two failings. It was too complex to use, and the default use for everything was bypass. Action: apply vendor patches when available. Monitor for local privilege escalation attempts. Review kernel configurations for unnecessary legacy bypasses. Source: Schneier on security. Next section: trends and context. Supply chain attacks dominated this reporting period, with coordinated campaigns hitting NPM, NuGet, and PyPI ecosystems simultaneously. The shift from isolated malicious packages to multi-ecosystem campaigns suggests attackers are optimizing their infrastructure for parallel targeting. Authentication bypass vulnerabilities in edge-facing VPN appliances, PANOS Global Protect, and self-hosted Git services, GOGS, highlight the continued risk of exposing enterprise services directly to the internet without defense-in-depth controls. The emergence of LLM agents in post-exploitation, Marimo incident, and malware development Greyvibe marks a tactical shift where AI augments both attacker speed and adaptability. That concludes today's cyber threat brief. From Carolina Clear Tech. Stay patched, stay vigilant.